August 28th, 2008. I had just gotten done with the worst night of my life. I spent all my money on drugs and alcohol. I got assaulted and dislocated my shoulder. And I ended up in the hospital. I literally left with a pair of pants and a hospital garb. I laid down in the grass and I thought, my God. You know, it just came to me. I know I can walk away from this. And that's where I first got my courage, you know. I said, that's it. I discovered my art in treatment. I thought of doing a collage with creatures that were all contiguous. So you draw a creature and that becomes the perimeter of the other creature and so on. And it's just evolved from there. At one point in my life, I was gainfully employed. I was in interior design. I made a really good income. I was married and she made a good income and it was wonderful. But I started drinking more and more alcohol. And it got to be a real problem, especially when I got divorced. I was no longer a high-functioning alcoholic. I was fired from 5 furniture stores, and I had a townhouse payment that I couldn't pay. So eventually I got foreclosed. I was arrested 3 times for possession, and I had 3 DUIs. So I had a mandatory 6-month sentence. When I got out of jail, I had nowhere to flop. One time, and I sat down next to a guy, and I guess it was a little too tight for him. And he stands up, and he turns around and just pummeled me with 3 punches back. And I didn't really fight. I just got up, and I knew I had to go to the hospital. After 2 years of homelessness, I was recommended to Lydia. It was a real blessing. At Lydia, you were assigned a caseworker. There was as much service as you want. I got stability there. I got my dog, everything. It was a sanctuary. I'm prepared now for being part of the mainstream. I waited just to get a very nice apartment. At the Lonoke, it's probably the closest I'll get to a house ever again. It's a place where I could just get back to civilization. It's really a great place to live. I feel like this is my studio. I'll be 59 in October. I have 8 years of verifiable sobriety. I finally figured out I need people in my life. I was able to reconnect with my sister. It's been 15 years since I had talked to her. When people talked about homelessness, I just thought, well, that's for real losers. I mean, come on, Skid Row. That's where I ended up. I would say that anyone can end up like that.
I actually kept a list of everywhere that we stayed. We moved to 39 places in 14 months. I was 19. I just started community college. Me, my brother and sister and my mom, we were living in Edina. Most of the time we were pretty tight, and every here and there we'd have arguments or little altercations. And so when our lease was up, my mom decided that we should actually live away from one another. Me and my brother and sister wanted to live together, and she wanted to stay by herself. And we applied to this one house, and it fell through because the landlord, they turned out to be scammers. So we moved to a hotel for some time. We thought we would only be there for about a day or 2 because we thought we would hear back from our landlord. My brother, he was still going to Edina High School. He was a junior. He had to come first because he needed to graduate. That was a priority. He'd actually gotten to the bridge a couple of years before that, and so we knew that that was a place for him to live at. Then it was just me and my sister. Me and her moved around between hotels, friends' houses, buses, shelters, just wherever we could lay our head at night. But resources are just hard to come by. Like a lot of shelters I thought were, you can just head there and that's it. A lot of them there's a wait list, you have to pay every night. The ones that are right there on the spot are the most dangerous ones. I didn't associate myself as a homeless person. I associated myself as a worker. I worked every day, 40 hours a week. I am currently living at Nicholas Square, and Nicholas Square is apartment buildings for youth. When I first found out that I had a home, it was kind of like excited but scared at the same time. That first night it was calming but surreal. I didn't want to accept it for what it was at first. A lot of people assume that if you're in the suburbs, you're just automatically rich and you don't struggle. Where before I even graduated from high school, I already knew a handful of people that were homeless. Homelessness doesn't have a look. It's easy to become homeless. I want to get back to school next semester. This was my sweatshirt I had the whole time we were homeless. Yeah, this sweatshirt just brought back a lot of hurt. Because I feel like nobody should have to go through that. When you're a teen, the whole time you tell yourself, I'm grown, I'm grown. And then when I got thrown into it, it's the scariest thing in life.